Welcome to the American Digital Newspaper, hosted by Blockchain AJ. In China, millions of parents give their kids smartwatches for one simple reason: safety. But out on the playground, these devices have become something else entirely: a battlefield for social status. I mean, think about it. For most parents, a smartwatch for their child is all about peace of mind. It's a way to stay connected, to make sure they're safe. But what's happening on the playgrounds in China? Well, it's a whole different story. These watches have become the absolute center of a fierce, high-stakes competition for popularity. So, how did this happen? How did a simple piece of tech create such a complex social world? Well, the answer really lies with one incredibly dominant brand that basically turned childhood friendship into a game. And that brand is Little Genius. See, on the Little Genius platform, everything, and I mean everything, revolves around popularity. It's not just about messaging your friends anymore. It's about collecting likes. And get this, for kids, some as young as 5 years old, their social standing is directly tied to the number of likes they can rack up from their peers. Researchers who've actually studied this little world call it a highly gamified and fundamentally transactional environment. Now that sounds pretty academic, but what it means is this isn't just child's play. It's a system where social interactions are basically treated like currency, and every single like is a transaction that boosts a kid's social value. So, what does that word gamified even mean here? It's actually the key to understanding this whole thing. Gamification is when you take elements from video games, stuff like points, leaderboards, and competition, and you apply them to something that isn't a game at all. In this case, social networking. And the goal? It's designed to keep users hooked and constantly striving for that next level. But here's where the story takes a really wild turn. This system evolved into something way more than just a game. This digital popularity contest pretty quickly spawned a real-world underground economy. It's kind of astounding, really. Kids and teens figured out how to game the system for actual profit. They started developing and selling bots. These are automated programs that just generate likes for you. And they even began buying and selling high-ranking accounts. An entire marketplace for what we call digital clout, or online influence, was just born out of thin air. Just how serious did this get? Well, one 17-year-old was reportedly earning more than $5,000 a year from this marketplace. Let that sink in. That's a staggering amount of money. And it's all being generated from the social currency created on a children's smartwatch. But of course, operating in a high-stakes digital world like this, well, it wasn't without its consequences. For that same 17-year-old entrepreneur, all that success was quickly followed by a pretty significant downside. Yeah, his story is a really powerful example of the dark side here. After he built up his business, he basically became a target. He started facing intense cyberbullying from competitors and other influencers on the platform. The conflicts just got so severe that he eventually had to abandon his business and leave the platform altogether. And look, this isn't just an isolated story about a few kids. The scale of this phenomenon has grown so large that it has captured the attention of the Chinese government, transforming it from a simple playground trend into a full-blown national issue. And you can really understand why when you see the numbers. In 2021, Little Genius held about 27% of the global kids' smartwatch market. By just a couple of years later, that share had skyrocketed to nearly half of the entire market, hitting 48%. That is massive, widespread influence. So, when a single company's product has that much reach and is literally shaping the social lives of millions of children, it's inevitably going to attract some regulatory scrutiny. The sheer dominance of this platform is exactly what has prompted officials to finally step in. So right now, officials are drafting new national safety regulations, and they're driven by two major fears. First, the rise of internet addiction in young children, and second, the potential for these platforms to be exploited for inappropriate relationships. In a weird way, they're trying to protect kids from the very system that has become so incredibly popular. And all of this leaves us with a really critical question to consider. This entire ecosystem started as a way for kids to just play and connect. But it's morphed into this transactional, competitive environment that looks a whole lot more like work. So you have to ask, when a child's playtime is monetized and gamified to this extent, what essential parts of childhood are being lost in the process?